Cricket is my passion and I cannot avoid it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cricket Unplugged with Anish Sajan. Blown away in Adelaide for just 36 runs, came back in Melbourne, and then the greatest escapes at Sydney. So let's first talk about Sydney with my lovely Bharat Army. Is Naresh from Pune. I have Gurkirat from Delhi, Dia from Haryana, and Amanda. Welcome to all of you, the Bharat Army fans.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Since we have Amanda coming after a long break, we welcome Amanda first on the show. Amanda, how are you feeling after this miraculous escape yesterday in Sydney?
I'm feeling so great, so proud of the wounded soldiers who took the brunt and carried the team and gave us a victory to remember for a long, long time. Considering the fact that so many of them were injured, shout out to Vihari for that spectacular performance of his. And yeah, I'm feeling so great. I'm sure not a lot of people would have expected this to go our way, but a draw is just as great as a win in this situation.
Wonderful. Naresh, did you wake up at 3:30 in the morning yesterday to see the game?
It was 4:30 actually. It was 4:30 actually, yeah.
All right.
And Rane getting out in the second over, it was like, okay, I'll probably have bed tea at 8 a.m. and go back to sleep. But then, yeah, it was again. There are two, I would say, master strokes in this series by Rane. One was getting Jadeja in place of Kohli. After a 36, as you mentioned in the beginning, 36 all out, we could have replaced Kohli with a full-time batsman, but you got to get in Jadeja as an all-rounder. So you have an option of a fifth bowler, and then getting Rishabh Pant promoted ahead of Vihari. I think these two decisions, whoever is behind the decision, but yeah, credit goes to Rahane to implement it. And then Rishabh Pant actually giving us a hope that we could have actually made history yesterday. So probably one of the best days of Test cricket, and what a great start to 2021.
All right. We will talk about definitely Pant and the rest of the players as the show goes on. Gurkirat, आपका prediction एकदम 100% spot on. आपने बोला था बारिश होगी, draw होगा. आप यार किस पे भी हाथ रख दो, आपका भला होने वाला है.
I predicted a draw, but for different reasons. But what a test match! I mean, these test matches not only take, it's very absorbing to watch these test matches. Very draining as a fan also. So sometimes you put these things in perspective and think that what it might have been for the players who are out there in the middle. So I don't know, if anybody was reading Preeti Ashwin's tweet. But while Ashwin was batting, she tweeted that how Ashwin had a very bad back, and the entire day he did not sit down. Even during the tea and while he was waiting for his chance to bat, he kept standing because he felt that the moment he will sit down, his back will give away. So yeah, I mean, it's a test matches for the ages. And like we said about the previous test match, that it could be a test match, probably the best test India have played overseas in that last decade. Maybe this could be right up there in the coming decade, because it's been a terrific effort. Make no mistake about it, and probably all the players that have been involved. Starting from Shubman Gill to Rohit Sharma to Pujara, then Pant, then even Jadeja. In the first innings getting 4 wickets and that run out. Siraj, Bumrah, Saini was not at his best, but he still also contributed with 4 wickets. So a brilliant test match, an all-round performance.
Yeah. क्या आप उठे थे? Did you wake up in the morning to see the game?
Well, I couldn't sleep the entire night. I remember, like in the initial 4 days, I still used to wake up at 4:30. But the evening of day 5, like before the day 5 was happening, I'm sorry, before the day 5, I couldn't sleep the whole night. I was so anxious. That's why I put on my glasses, because I don't want to like to show off the dark circles that I've got and the pressure and the anxiety that was there. I couldn't sleep. I remember at 2:30 a.m. I sat down on my bed, and till 12:30 p.m. I was right here only. I couldn't move at all. I was like, if I'm going to move, maybe we might lose a wicket or something's going to happen. So that pressure and anxiety was all up there. But I was teary-eyed. I was so happy. There was so much, like such an overwhelming, set of emotions that were, coming out, the way I saw our batsmen batting out there, they were all bruised, battered, abused, what not. And it was such a tremendous effort to see them batting that way and just battling this match out, no matter how much things happened. Like it was, like so much of drama, everything was there. And I think we couldn't have got a perfect result because this match didn't deserve any winner, according to me. Both of the teams played their heart out in this match. So it was a perfect match, and I'm really, really, really happy and proud of my team.
Well, I'm very excited to hear everybody's views. Naresh, Amanda, Gurkirat, Dia, you guys are so excited and happy for a draw. That's lovely. We're going to have a fantastic show. Let's move on. Amanda, Gurkirat has something to say.
Dia should have just channeled her inner Ravi Shastri and said that cricket is the real winner. It was a sort of test match which deserved a few Ravi Shastri one-liners. Cricket is the real winner. Something what he keeps saying, that it's what the doctor ordered. So yeah, I mean, would have been great to actually have him in the post-match press conference, because he has.
Well, I was surprised not to see him. Generally, he's there when India does well. And nonetheless, we'll move ahead. Amanda, tell me, we all talk about the heroes of yesterday's match. So we had, if I'm not wrong, we can call 6 heroes. But if you had to pick one hero out of the 6 heroes, I will start with the 6 heroes, which the top 6, bearing Ajinkya, who unfortunately failed. So if you had to pick one hero, I know all of them contributed in India securing a draw. That one hero, according to you, who was it?
No questions asked. Vihari, 100%. I mean, with an injured hamstring, with around 5 wickets left, he carried the team to that draw. He stayed, he defended for his life, because I mean, it's obviously not easy, and there was no reason for India to keep the scoreboard ticking, because I think a draw was more than enough if you're playing with an injured hamstring. So no doubt Vihari was a hero, and obviously credit goes to the entire team, but for me he definitely stood out.
Right. Naresh, Amanda has said Vihari, but before you answer and give your player, because you see you have to pick one, you can't pick all 6. I know all of them have contributed for India securing a draw, but would you have picked Vihari, or you probably before the last day, when he had dropped a sitter on the first over of Labuschagne, you still would have had him in your books?
He was fighting for his place in the side, and that's what it is. Unfortunately, such kind of performances don't get man of the match award. And I think that he deserved that. And, the last 3 hours playing that, and, it's a very tough question you have asked to pick one. There were 4 heroes yesterday, to be honest. As you said, Rahane got out early. So I would still, as Amanda has picked up Vihari, I'll pick up Ravichandran Ashwin. Because, the way Ravichandran Ashwin was playing against Nathan Lyon, they both come from the same school of off-spin, right? So he showed how off-spin can be played. His feet and bat were moving together. He was so close to the pitch of the delivery. And when required, he was even driving well. I think some top order batsmen should see those videos on and on, So, as I said, it's a tough question. That's why I'm going in for Ashwin, because we have spoken about Vihari. But yeah, Vihari was fighting for his place. And it's so unfortunate we won't see him now for a few matches. But he'll be around. He'll be around for selection. Definitely. I don't think he'll be ruled out.
Right. So Amanda has picked Vihari. Naresh obviously has picked Ashwin. I come to Gurkirat. आप कैसे सिलेक्ट करोगे वो एक प्लेयर जो आपके हिसाब से लगता है जिसने मैच का रुख बदल दिया?
Before I pick my player, I want to add to something what Naresh said about Ashwin playing out live. So when Ashwin was being considered as an all-rounder or a potential all-rounder, when he had those 3-4 hundreds, and I think his last 100 was in 2016. The one thing that he used to do very well was he would come down the track to spinners and hit them over the top. Yesterday, initially he did that to Nathan Lyon to ensure that Nathan Lyon again doesn't get into a rhythm and keeps bowling in that channel of uncertainty where batsmen are stuck at the crease. Like you can't go back or can't come fully forward. So I think that was one thing that he did very well. But if I were to pick my hero, for me it has to be Cheteshwar Pujara, because he's always been a subject of something called intent in test matches, which I feel is the most ambiguous thing you can discuss, because it is something which should be discussed in T20s, in ODIs, but not really in test matches, because I like I said the last time, I think intent is something which makes the batsman feel confident. For an opening batsman, intent is leaving balls on the fourth stump. If you're doing that, you will automatically frustrate the bowling side to bowl on your pads. And for somebody like Cheteshwar Pujara, it is about batting more deliveries, because just his presence is enough to frustrate the bowling side. And despite him being the joint top scorer in the first innings, he got a lot of flack for not showing enough intent. I mean, people have to understand that this is not an ordinary bowling attack. Even Virat Kohli in Adelaide made a 70 of 180 odd deliveries at a strike rate which was lower than his career strike rate. And this bowling attack is so consistent that you don't get any half volleys for you to have any release shot. Moreover, they have already kept a tight leg side field inside the circle to stop his run scoring. So I mean, the way he batted on the second evening, the fourth evening, and the consequent third and fifth morning was very, very important, because if Pujara would have gotten out in the first session itself, say the first innings or even in the second innings, it would have been curtains. So I think us as fans need to let Cheteshwar Pujara be the way he is. And people are forgetting that it was the similar pattern which gave us the victory in 2018-2019, be it in Adelaide or in Sydney, where we drew the game, or in Melbourne. His first 50 came off more than 150, 160 deliveries. So for me, the hero has to be Cheteshwar Pujara, because we had spoken in the preview that what is happening wrong with him, and I said that he just needs to play more balls and the runs will start coming. So that is what happened, I think. So for me, Cheteshwar Pujara is one hero, because I think he doesn't get enough credit for the value he brings. You have enough players who can slam bang the ball, but if you need someone to blunt the new ball and play out, he has to be your guy regardless of where you're playing.
All right. That is Gurkarit's viewpoint. Dia, your favorite player, your one player who made that big difference in India saving the test match.
As everyone has mentioned one particular player that have contributed, now I think the only person that is left has to be Rishabh Pant. That 97 of 118 deliveries was just so magnificent. When in the very second over, Rahane got out, we all were like, maybe it might curtains are down for India now. But when he just walked into bat, and it was a good move to move him up the order, because I think when as Gurkirat has mentioned, his Cheteshwar Pujara's plays like that he loves to take his time and just bat it out. So he needed a player like Rishabh Pant who could what should I say?
Take the attack to the opposition.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's what we saw as well, because initially he was also playing slow. He was 7 runs for 36 deliveries, but then he took on the opposition, and the way he started batting and hitting those 4s and 6s, and when he was in those nervous 90s, still he was not afraid to take on Nathan Lyon and hit him for 4s. And when he was on 97, still he was going for that area shot, and that's when he got out. So that shows the intent that he had in his mind. And I was, as I said, that before day 5, I was just thinking that maybe we might get to see a similar innings that he played in England as well, in over that 114 that he scored, which through which we almost had saved that test match. Although eventually we lost, but he did something similar like that previously as well. So I was expecting the same. And also one thing was also there in my mind, that he had scored 150 last time and at this ground only. So maybe we can see another innings like that. And that's what exactly happened. And Rishabh Pant, in the second innings as well, if we see, he scored that 36. He was looking very good on the crease. But when he was hit on the elbow, that's when he lost his rhythm and eventually got out. He couldn't even, he got injured and couldn't wicket keep in the third innings, but still he came out to bat to save his team, and his effort was one of the key factors that contributed in us drawing this match and gave Cheteshwar Pujara the confidence as well. Because when he got out, then we saw Cheteshwar Pujara as well scoring runs and hitting those boundaries. I cannot forget that 3 consecutive boundaries that he hit to Pat Cummins, and it was a badla, if I say that, at revenge, because Pat Cummins had got him out 4 times in this series. So it was a good comeback from Cheteshwar Pujara, that he showed that he has got his technique. And that's what I said, that earlier Virat Kohli was there, who used to bat with a good strike rate. Right now it was Rahane with him. So maybe that didn't fancy Cheteshwar Pujara that much, and because of that, he was criticized a lot for his strike rate. So that was something, because of Pant, I think Cheteshwar Pujara also could play well. And one more thing I wanted to mention, about Ashwin and Vihari's partnership. It was so good to see that, the way Ashwin was taking all those blows, those short bowling stuff that was happening after the tee. And it was very good to see how they were batting in that partnership, because I saw Ashwin was handling the spin very well, and Vihari, he knew that he could face the fast bowling well. So he was taking on the fast bowler. So it was a very well thought effort from both the batsmen that we got to see, and a brilliant effort by whole team, and Pant's contribution was very good to see on the other hand. So yeah, very happy.
I was just trying to pull a fast one on all of you, just to ask pick one. I know to have such great escape, you need the whole team. And obviously all four who played on the last day helped India to have this great escape. And there was one guy from the Australia who helped us also escape, that's Tim Payne. Who can forget him? Anyway, now since Dia has mentioned about Pant, now Naresh, I want to ask you this question before I come to Amanda. We know Pant's keeping is a bit of an issue. Would you still pick Pant as a wicketkeeper batsman in the next test match? And imagine you have spinners bowling.
Yeah. So I understand, and that's been so unfortunate to see. When he's keeping up to the spinners, we have seen his limitations or the lapses that have happened. We saw it on day one also. But as a batsman, he's such a risk reward kind of a batsman. You take the risk and you reward, the team gets rewarded. So it's such a tough one to choose. And in a test match, if you play say Pant as a pure batsman and pick up Saha as a keeper, that could be one of the possibilities in the next game, purely looking at the kind of injuries that have happened. But long term, yeah, I think it's time Pant focuses on that bit, on keeping to the spinners. That will, with the bat, he's proved it. Honestly, yesterday's inning has definitely taken away the criticism about Pant playing a long knock. He has done it earlier also in Sydney. But yeah, this bit of the keeping skill, I think the quicker he fixes, the better for a long career. Otherwise, they'll probably keep looking at alternates. Maybe Saha may not be the alternate in the long run, but Pant will have to work on that bit. But for the next game, the possibility is that both of them play.
Amanda, Naresh says because of no options in the next test match. But let's presume we had a solid team where there were no injuries. Now, I still remember on the first day, he was trolled a lot after he dropped Will Pursky. And you never know, had India taken their chances early, rather Pant taken their chances early, you would have had Smith early to face Ashwin. And he wouldn't have been able to play as freely as he came on because he had he came back, I think, in the 25th over or 30th over. I don't remember exactly when Smith came on to bat. What would you have your take on Pant as a wicketkeeper?
Well, I've said this a couple of times before, but there aren't really ifs in the game of cricket. You can't really say if this happened, the result would have been in India's way. If this happened, Australia might have won the match. I mean, everyone has their good days and bad days, and Wriddhiman Saha has obviously got the experience. But like Naresh said, that I think it's time that Rishabh Pant, sort of takes over, and I think it's time for him to be a permanent replacement for Saha. I understand that he's a great player, but Rishabh Pant also contributes equally. And we've seen with the way he's played this series, we've seen his style, his intent. We've seen how he is more of an attacking player, and we need at least one of those in our team. We can't just have everyone who's just defending. So I think that one attacking player is necessary, and obviously you can't say because Rishabh Pant dropped this one catch, he should be dropped from the team, because everyone has their good and bad days. So obviously everyone must be hoping that this doesn't happen again, but maybe you can't really say if. The results were pretty good despite that dropped catch, and I think that's just the beauty of Test cricket.
Gurkirat, Rishabh's catching rate for spinners, I don't know what you call catching rate or strike rate, is around 53-54%. If you were the captain, would you back him as a wicket-keeper batsman in your team?
Yes, I'll tell you why. So there's always a lot of discussion as to why India plays Saha at home and Pant away, because, but there are three or four factors to it. So if anybody has heard Adam Gilchrist talk, Adam Gilchrist says that when he made his debut for Australia, he wasn't the keeper he was at the end of his career. So he says that, like everyone else, he also improved at the job. The more he played for Australia, the better he got. And let's not forget that even MS Dhoni wasn't the perfect keeper when he made his debut for India. He was primarily picked up for his batting, and then he started improving. In fact, I remember even in the 2011 tour to England, when it had already been 7 years into international cricket for MS Dhoni and 6 years of Test cricket, he really struggled with the Duke's ball. The movement that was there. So we have to account for this, that in overseas conditions, that any keeper that you play is going to struggle, and Rishabh Pant is no different. Having said that, somehow is there a scope of improvement? Definitely yes. Is he the best keeper that he could be? No. But do we still need to back him? Yes. Do we still need to play him in India? Yes, because drop chances hurt you the most when your bowlers are not creating enough chances. In India, whenever India is going to play, Ashwin and Jadeja, along with all other bowlers, they are going to create so many chances that even if you have a couple or 3 or 4 drops, you will be able to make up for it 8 to 9 times out of 10. So you have to keep things in perspective that way and then play. I am not really a big fan of having a specialist keeper, which Riddhiman Saha is, because today when you see a lot of test matches are changed and the momentum shifts when the last 3 or 4 wickets are batting, and you invariably need a number 7 or a number 8 to score some runs. At this point of time, Riddhiman Saha is at best a number 7 or a number 8, right? He's not a number 6. So if you keep all those factors intact, then you have to back Rishabh Pant as a proper wicketkeeper batsman, because you also have to keep in mind that he has a lot of time on his hands. He's just 23. You're not going to see a lot of 23-year-olds who can play the this bowling attack on the 5th day and dominate them like this, right? So agreed, there's a huge scope of improvement when it comes to Rishabh Pant's keeping, but he will only improve the more he plays and the more he's bagged. And I think it's not that he hasn't improved. He has the record for most catches in an IPL, which he made in 2019. So he's not as bad as the wicketkeeper which the internet and the trolls make him look like. And similarly, Riddhiman Saha is not as bad as a batsman as what the opinion of people and trolls make him look like. So there has to be some balance. And I think, with considering the age of both the players and the talent that Pant have, India have to invest long term in Rishabh Pant. That's the way to go about it.
Well, Diya, all three have backed Pant. Would you back Pant as a wicket-keeper batsman? Rather, you pick him as a wicket-keeper in your squad?
I have always backed Pant as my wicketkeeper in white ball cricket and in red ball cricket as well, because he has performed as a batsman. Of course, he has performed in overseas conditions. Of course, at times his wicket keeping, his wicket keeping skills have been criticized. In this match as well, we saw in the first innings he dropped 2 catches and was criticized like anything. So this is something that affects him, and his backing is one thing that a player needs all the time. And I feel that this problem of plenty becomes a problem for us, because we have got so many players for one spot, and that gives an uncertainty to particular players. For wicket keeping spot, we have got in Test cricket, we have got Saha, we have got KL Rahul as well, and we have got Rishabh Pant. So if the player will not be backed, if he will not have certainty over his spot, I think that's going to affect his game to a greater extent. So it's very important that you back that player and give him enough chances to prove himself and make a mark. So if you're gonna give Rishabh Pant enough chances, then maybe we can see his keeping skills improving as well. Because what the management thinks is that he has not done well in 2 matches, so let's replace him with any other wicket keeper, because we have got so many options. So if we're going to back one player for a lot of matches, maybe we can see that improvement. And last time as well, as I've earlier mentioned as well, he had 11 catches under his name in just one innings. That's the most by any wicket keeper. So it's not like he's that bad of a keeper. It's just that he needs to be backed enough because his batting is very good. Maybe in the last test match, we're going to see him playing purely as a batsman with Saha coming in as a keeper because we have not enough players. So yeah, but overall, I think he should be backed as our keeper because on the other hand, Saha is also aging. It's not like his age is going to reduce. He's also like 33, 34 right now. So it's better to back a youngster like Pant who has got a little bit of experience under his belt as well, and that will be great if he becomes a permanent wicket keeper and a batsman for us in the test and the white ball side as well.
Well, at least in our show, we have four lovely Bharat Army fans backing Pant. We need to see if that actually would have been there in the near future. God forbid if Pant has a bad day and India don't have that day, or rather win that test match. So next time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to individually ask you all after the day's play that, boss, does Pant fit in your team today? Okay, it all sounds good. India has been able to save the test match. Pant has played a very good innings. But what would have, as Amanda said, there are no ifs and buts. But now let's accept that Pant has done well. And so we all go with Pant. So I'm also with Pant. Not actually after the first day's play, but जब चार राजी है तो मैं कैसे ना कह सकता हूँ. All right. Coming now to the question which somebody had raised about Pujara. Like the media went crazy. They said that he was responsible. I remember Ponting, especially. I don't know what's wrong with him. He first said India will not even score 200 in the last innings. Then he was blaming Pujara for the dismissal of other players, which is really, I believe it's a pre-planned sledging from the Australians to make Pujara play the aggressive way and lose his wicket. Raresh?
Psychological. India, Australia is all about mental, you can call it trying to disturb you mentally, or the mental fitness test is happening, and we expected this, especially after Adelaide, of how more low India can go, but that has not happened. But yeah, as far as Pujara, to be honest, with Kohli at 4, I think we did speak about it, that how different Pujara's approach is also. So with Kohli not around, so it was Pujara, Rahane and Vihari. All have similar styles of batting, and you cannot say that they are wrong styles. It is their style, individual styles. It's just that, how we saw it in first innings, there was unfortunate criticism around it. But if you see yesterday, when Pant came ahead of Vihari, we saw a different Pujara also. So Pujara is someone at number 3 so critical because, one, people bat around him, at the same time, he also bats around his partners. So I think they are playing their own natural game. And that is what Rahane even said at the end of the game, that each of them were asked to play their own natural game. And that is what each of them were doing. It is just that it became too prominent because of Kohli's absence, that, all seemed similar. They started blocking and, as Gurukrit said, we are playing a world-class bowling attack. They will get on to you when you start blocking, because they'll set the field more in and, you need to counter attack, which we saw the counter attack. So nothing wrong as far as Pujara's approach is concerned. And Ricky Ponting can be where he is and keep commenting. But I think India gives better once such kind of things happen. So he should be careful of that.
Amanda, what's your view about Pujara? Like, I know what the legends have said about him, but you as an Indian Bharat Army fan, did you feel that Pujara was too slow in the first innings, which led to the dismissals of other players?
See, honestly, while Pujara is a great batsman, he's got that his own style of defending most of the balls. I feel like a lot of people might not agree with me on this, but I feel like while he's playing most of the balls as dot balls, I think it's really important to keep the scoreboard ticking a bit, because you can't just hit dots. You can't just either see, when you look at him, I think he scored around 12 fours and the rest would have been dots. So I feel like it is important to keep the scoreboard ticking, because you can't only defend. I understand that test match test matches go slowly, and it is important to save your wicket, but I don't think just defending is the way to go. And I think keeping that scoreboard going, taking singles, not doubles, just mostly singles, is important. But I mean, of course, we do also need a player like Pujara to sort of stay in and, like, um, just hold on there and keep his wicket.
All right. Let me assure you, Amanda, everybody has a view and you are within your rights to give your view. Where you feel what is right or wrong, nobody is here to make judgments. We all have our views. All right. All right, Gurkirat, aap kya kahoge?
It's a very fine line, it's a very fine line between Pujara being labeled as an ultra defensive batsman and a proper test match batsman. When he will bat long, and when he'll score 100, say in 300. See, had Pujara not been dismissed in the first innings and gone on to score 100 of 300 balls, then the world would have been fine, right? And just because he got out is the time when you say, okay, he got out, didn't score runs. With this bowling attack, you will always get a ball which will have your number. The important aspect to think about is that, would he have been more successful if he would have been attacking? Like, you also have to realize that the kind of shots every batsman has. Pujara is not a Kohli who can play an expansive cover drive and will get more or less be successful with it. He's the kind of batsman who will play the on drives when the ball is on the stumps. So again, he knows what works for him, and we have to back him for that. When he thought that the pitch was dying, the bounce was consistent as it was on the fifth day, he cut Pat Cummins twice, and he also played an uppercut to Mitchell Stark on a bouncer. So it's not that he doesn't have the shots, but I think what he realizes is that probably a high risk game will not ensure in probably him scoring a 50 also. It could also result in a collapse. So I think it's a very fine line where a counter punch can only be provided if there's an aggressive batsman at the other end, which a Rishabh Pant was. Nobody can sort of underestimate the importance of Pant's innings, because he sort of hit out Nathan Lyon out of the attack on the fifth day. The shot that he played to him, inside out over covers for a six, is a shot that you don't even see in T20 many of the times, and not a lot of players have the capability to play it. But once he did that, Australia had to spread the fields, and once the field got spread, the singles started coming. The strike rotation happened, and there was a sense of panic. There was a very good possibility that if Rohit Sharma or say Rishabh Pant had batted for 50 odd runs more, when Rishabh Pant got out, it was 250 for 3. Imagine India being 300 for 3 at the stroke of tea. I am pretty sure that India would have gone for the win if he had batted for that long. So it has to be a combination of both. You can't have just both the batsmen, like Naresh mentioned, having playing in a similar manner. At the same time, you cannot fault any batsman in playing in his own way, which is why I feel that if Pujara should keep batting the way he is, it's just that the other people around him, need to strike a balance. Some criticism of Pujara did not make any sense at all. Saying that Vihari got run out because of Pujara. Vihari was himself batting at 4 of 38. When you're yourself batting at 4 for 30 and then not getting a release shot, you're bound to take that high risk single, right? So you cannot blame Pujara for Vihari getting run out. That is just, like you are having an agenda and you're trying to link up things where there's no connection. So, like I said, we need to let the players be in the way they feel most comfortable in, because there was not much different as per cricket info. There was not much difference between the control percentages of our Cheteshwar Pujara and Rishabh Pant. Rishabh Pant batted with a control percentage of 86%, while Pujara batted with a control percentage of 84%. And we all know who plays conventionally high risk cricket. So the assessment of risk also has to change depending upon who the batsman is. The number of times, 3 times out of twice when Rishabh Pant dropped, he got dropped when he was defending a delivery, not when he was going for a shot. So these are the factors that we also have to think about when we discuss the approaches of certain players.
Let me twist the question to you, Dia, even though I asked about Pujara to all of them. But I remember on the second day, when India had got a good start with in the first innings with Rohit Sharma and Gill for 70 for no loss. And after we lost 2 quick wickets, both Rahane and Pujara put the shutters down when we had some 20-25 overs to go and they just played for stumps. Do you agree to that style of play?
That's a difficult question actually, because I also thought that we were playing so slow during that time, because earlier we saw runs were flowing very nicely because our openers were playing so well. Like all their pull shots were so good to see. But after that, when they both got out in like in a very short span of time, that's when we saw Rahane and Pujara batting so slow, because they knew that because with Virat Kohli not there, your top batsman is not there, they had that responsibility on their shoulders to carry the team through. So maybe that defensive approach that we saw was not good, because I remember Australia played 105 plus overs in their first innings, and we also played 100 overs, which is almost equal. But there was so much of there were a difference of 94 runs. So if we would have cashed in on that opportunity, and if we would have scored more runs maybe during that in those 20 overs and take on the opposition, as I remember in the preview show as well, I have said that maybe, if Cheteshwar Pujara can start attacking, maybe we can see him scoring more runs. I know it's not his natural style of play and I'm not asking him to change it, but maybe if he would have shifted his gears. But I think again, that opportunity didn't allow him, because if someone like Shubman Gill or Rohit Sharma would have been there with him, maybe he would have played his natural game, and on the other hand, we could have saw the runs coming in. But again, this time around, it was Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara who both had a strike rate of around average of 30, which is not that great. So because their style of play is quite similar. So that was responsible for us scoring not that much amount of run, and that costed us, and that cost us. And yeah, that was the reason that we gave so much amount of lead, like of 94 runs. So yeah, if we would have batted in a more attacking manner, of course they were trying to save their wickets, because no one would have wanted us to give away another wicket by the end of day two. But yeah, maybe they were trying to play in a mature manner, but that costed us a little bit. That backfired. So yeah.
Gurkirat, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I disagree slightly, because again, bringing up run rates is very different, because we have to keep in mind that two of our pacers had a combined experience of 3 test matches, and you have to compare the bowling lineup that Indian batsmen were facing and the bowling lineup that Australian batsmen were facing. It puts things in perspective again. Navdeep Saini is playing his first test match. He's probably never bowled in Australia before, in a test match or with a red ball. So that puts a lot of things in perspective. Again, this is something which I don't agree with, because when you're not facing the same kind of bowling attack, you cannot ask for a same approach. You cannot play the Australian attack, which has a Pat Cummins, a Hazelwood, Stark, and a Nathan Lyon, with the same approach that you will play a Mohammad Siraj, a Jasprit Bumrah, a Ashwin, or a Ravindra Jadeja, and a Navdeep Saini. Because Navdeep Saini did not bowl well in the first innings, but it is okay. It will not. It will happen to the best of people when you're playing your first test match. Navdeep Saini gave runs at a rate of 4.5 or 5 runs per over. So when that is happening, it is bound to take the run rate higher, right? And you can't fault Navdeep Saini also for it, because there were nerves in it. He had his nerves. So I just think, the conversation around strike rates need to happen a lot more in T20s, and it needs to be it shouldn't be discussed in test matches, because it's a case of mixing the formats. I genuinely think that.
All right. You see, the reason I asked Dia this question, because I believed, rather, who am I to say? I actually had a word with Mr. Cricket, Michael Hussey, at the end of second day's play, and he was of the opinion that India made the Aussie bowlers, especially Nathan Lyon, we've always made him bosses, because we had come back in the test match by getting them out for 330 odd. And on that Sydney wicket, had Indian batsmen played a little bit positive, probably we would have been 300 plus or 400. Who knows what would have happened? But that's easier to say now. But what Hussey was trying to say, that we've always made Lyon look like a very big bowler. All right, he's a good bowler, but like how they attacked Ashwin, we took a little bit time till Pant got into the second innings for Lion. We have always made Lion look like a real lion. That was my point about. Nonetheless, let me move on to my next point. We've all been happy about that finally we are able to save the test match. And the real point which comes now is the last test match, which is going to happen in a couple of days' time in Brisbane. Now, I don't know who is going to be our 11 players. Naresh, would you be able to pick your 11 players?
Very tough one. I know for sure Vihari and Jadeja for sure out. Bumrah could be 50-50. But yeah, I would still go with the 5-bowler attack purely looking at what has happened in this series. We have lost.
So pick your 11. Pick your 11.
My 11. Okay, I'm replacing these two with Mayank Agarwal and Kuldeep Yadav.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
considering Bumrah is playing. So this is the only change I'm making.
Amanda, you're playing 11?
Exactly the same.
So you replace Mayank for Jadeja and the other player?
Actually, I replaced Mayank for Vihari and Kuldeep for Jadeja.
Kuldeep for Jadeja. So we have one batsman less playing, correct?
Yeah.
Because Jadeja is out.
So
you guys are you're locked, right? Gurkirit, आप क्या बोलोगे? आप किसको लोगे? आपके 11 player. You want to replace anybody? Blah blah blah. समझो कि ये बुमराह available है.
Mayank comes in like Naresh mentioned, and he bats in the middle order. I'll change something in the middle order as well, because we have known that Mayank plays spin really well. I will have Mayank at 4 and Rahane at 5 and Pant at 6. So and in place of Jadeja, I'll bring in Shardul Thakur, because Brisbane is a pitch which has predominantly had very good bounce, and Mumbai again, the Wankhede pitch also has a lot of bounce in India. So if we are going to compare the character of pitches, then I feel Shardul Thakur is a good fit. Also it helps in lengthening the batting a little bit. Shardul Thakur is a very efficient lower order batsman, and he can actually hold his own when it comes to batting. So I'd go in with a 4 pacer and 1 spinner attack, and I will have Shardul Thakur in.
Yeah, Shane once said that if Kuldeep comes, it's going to be a tough ride for Australians because they can't pick him. Do you agree with Gurkirat that we should go with Shardul or we should go with Kuldeep?
Definitely I'm going to go with Kuldeep, because Brisbane, the Gabba pitch is supposed to be carrying a lot of bounce in it. So I think that bounce can help Kuldeep Yadav's, bowling. And I remember in the first test, he debuted against Australia only in India, and he picked up 4 wickets, and he got Warner in a brilliant fashion. And in Sydney as well, he picked up 5 wickets. So his record against Australia has been very good. And I don't think the Aussies know how to pick him, because it's like him being a Chinaman, left arm Chinaman bowler. So that can definitely advantage us. And knowing that Jadeja is not going to be there, then Kuldeep is our only option. And yeah, he's going to do well if he gets the chance. And yes, the bounce is going to support his style of bowling. And again, I will agree to Gurkirat, because I think if we should not change our opening combination, we should bring in Mayank Agarwal. Because on the other hand, if we're going to change our opening combination, they have been doing well. I mean, no one has, in this past 10 years, our openers haven't played 20 overs, above 20 overs. And that's what Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill did. So I don't think we should change that. And we should rather keep Mayank Agarwal in the middle at number 4, and again have Kuldeep as a bowler, as a spinner. So that should be the changes that I'm looking for.
So if we pick Kuldeep, we probably have 1 batsman short. And mind you, India's first goal, I'm not sure, is going to be going for a win in Brisbane. And if we bat first, we would rather be happy with 7 batsmen or 6 batsmen. Only time will say. But let's hope that whether we pick Kuldeep or we pick Shardul, or maybe we go with 7 batsmen. What I read in one of the cricket channels, that maybe India will go with pure 7 batsmen and only 4 bowlers. So the 7th batsman would be get also Prithvi Shaw. Who knows what's going to be happening?
And that's the thing, Bumrah, as you said, we have been reading that even 50% fit Bumrah would play. But then, then you don't have a backup or a cushion, and that's where Jadeja really helped in the second and third test. So we won't be in a situation like the first one where, Shami's requirement was not there, honestly, in the 4th inning, because it was a very small total for Australia. But yeah, even if Bumrah is 50%, Or even if Bumrah is not playing and we get in, say, a Natarajan or a Shardul, we need a fifth bowler because the pace attack would be quite raw, not much of experience. So a fifth bowler would definitely be very beneficial. But yeah, as you say, we need to balance. Do we want to go ahead and get the batting strength done? But we had the best day in the series yesterday. We lost only 3 wickets. So we need to even take that into consideration. So
I just want to add to what Naresh said. That we need this. I think this series has been the perfect advocate of why you need 5 bowlers in a test match. We've seen because bowlers have got injured. But if I take your mind back to a few series or a few years ago, when India went to England in 2011, Zaheer Khan got injured on the first day. So we had to play the entire test match with 3 bowlers, which was Harbhajan, Ishant, and Praveen Kumar. By the end of second test, Harbhajan was injured. By the end of third test, Ishant Sharma was injured. A fifth bowler is not only required to sort of ensure that your first 4 bowlers are managed well, but it is also to ensure that they remain potent. I think a lot of test matches that India have not been able to close out in the past decades, especially overseas, is down to the fact that there has not been a fifth bowler. You talk of Wellington 2014, Brendan McCullum was able to switch a partnership with Mitchell Santner, no, with a Jimmy Neesham in his debut test because there was no fifth bowler and the bowlers had been burnt out by then. You can talk, bring up the 2013 Johannesburg test match similarly. Zaheer Khan, Ishant Sharma, and Mohammad Shami and Ravichandran Ashwin, by the time they got into the last session, they were drained. They had already bowled more than 90 to 100 overs combined. There was not much left for them to contribute in terms of in terms of their energy reserves and what they could do. There's another test match, I think, which we weren't able to close out at Cape Town to 2011. Jack Callis, was batting with an injury, but he could still score 100 because there was no fifth bowler and there was nothing happening in the track. So it also becomes a case of making your bowlers more injury prone and affecting their potency. So you need a fifth bowler on most days in test matches, except for if you have a dust bowl or a Lords like green pitch where that it's going to be a shootout in terms of which batting team is going to be more lucky. If that is the case, then it is different. But most days you will need a fifth bowler in a test match. It
Right.
really helps.
Yeah, Dia, you want to say something?
Well, I definitely agree to both of their points, but I just want to keep another perspective to it. With a bowling attack like that of the Aussies, where that they're going to come hard on us, can we expect our top 6 batsmen to do that well? Don't we need a cushion as a batsman to make sure that that we don't give up that easily and we don't bundle out for very maybe 200 or 250 runs. We also don't want that because we know that their bowling is way better than what their batting is. So our 4 bowlers can also manage getting them out. I know it's going to be really hard. We are going to be really hard on them because they're going to overwork a lot, like because they're just four bowlers. But it's very important seeing their bowling lineup. We should have a cushion and have a batting lineup till 7. I mean, I'm just giving another perspective to it. Of course, it's going to depend on the Indian team how they're going to go about it. So this is just another perspective to it.
Yeah, but I don't think we genuinely have a 7th batsman. Riddhiman Saha and
Saha can come in.
Prithvi Shaw both don't sort of give that confidence.
But Anis, India will go for a win.
Yeah.
There's going to be no defensive approach. India is going for a win. They are mentally just too charged up.
That I completely agree with Naresh, because I remember when Tim Payne was asked a year ago about what he thinks where India would play or will they play at Brisbane. I think it was the first test match after defeating New Zealand. So he said, yeah, we would like India to come and play in Brisbane because that is where we start. And if Virat is in a good mood, we'll ask him if he allows us to play a day-night match. So that I genuinely think that India will go for a win. And something tells me it's a hunch that Rohit Sharma is going to come good, because it's the kind of track where bounce is going to be important and there's not going to be much movement. And I think the 3 best the 3 most suited batsmen in this Indian lineup when it comes to playing on a pitch like Gabba is Shubman Gill, Rohit Sharma, and Ajinkya Rahane. I think the 2 Mumbai batsmen in Ajinkya Rahane and Rohit Sharma hold the key here. Because if they get in and they get stuck, and hopefully India bat well, I won't be surprised if India post more than 350 plus. And once that is done, then you automatically have the opposition under pressure. And Ajinkya Rahane in 2014 played a brilliant innings in Gabba. He scored an 80 odd, was unfortunate to not get 100, but this is a pitch where I feel he'll genuinely enjoy, because both the batsmen, just like how the Wankhede pitches, they like the bounce, and when there's space and bounce, I think both of them really can take it up a notch higher and score a lot of runs.
Amanda, Gurkirat, Naresh, they all feel that 5 bowlers are important. Rather, it puts a toll if you don't have if you have only 4 bowlers. But if you see Australia, they have been toiling hard too, bearing that 36 allowed. They have toiled hard, in fact, harder than Indian bowlers. And they are also depending on 3 fast bowlers. Okay, they bring in Chris Green to bowl a few overs, as well as Marcus. So, don't you think even Australia are struggling with 4 bowlers? Okay, they are better experienced than Indian bowlers.
I don't think they're struggling per se. I think the Indian batsmen have just been doing. I mean, they've just been doing really, really well.
I mean,
see
struggling for fitness. I mean, you have 130 overs to bowl in a day, rather for one inning. That's what I mean.
Right. Again, I don't think fitness really. I haven't really seen Australians being ruled out and stuff. I mean, whether or not they're bowling 100 overs a day, or maybe sometimes restricting the Indian team to a low score, I think they're always on top of their work, and I think they're always. I honestly think Australian bowlers are quite consistent, and they bowl their good line or length, and overall I don't think their fitness is the main issue when it comes to Australian bowlers. I mean, from what I've seen, I think they've done a really great job when it comes to their bowling, and I feel like it's the bowling that sort of overpowers the batsman.
Dia, let me close on the show. What's going to happen in the last test match? India is going to go for a win. India is going to go for a draw. Or I'm afraid Australia will win.
Well, Australia hasn't lost in Brisbane since past 30 years, and we haven't won any match in Brisbane. So I'm hoping India to change this record this time around. Although it's going to be really difficult, as we have said that there was something like this line was trending, Pain's men versus men in pain. So it's not that's going to be the battle. Like how the men in pain are going to bat and going to bowl. It's not going to be easy. Everything is against us right now. And now it's time to prove and, come back in a very strong way, like we did in the 2008, after 2008 Sydney test, when that all that racism and, umpiring saga happened. After that, we have bounced, we bounced back and we won that match. And we can expect that to happen again as well. And if we're going to win, that's going to be great for us, knowing, again, I mention it again and again, keeping in mind the World Test Championship points as well. And again, we can expect our batsmen to do well and our bowlers as well. I know it's a depleted attack, but again, even the Aussies are going to be scared from us, because this draw must have, put on a lot of pressure on them as well, because we know that when the Aussies see that nothing is going like anything is not going like in their favor, they get mentally tired. So we should take opportunity. We should cash in on that opportunity and tire them out completely and bowl them out of the game. So yeah, I can expect India to win this match and retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy.
Naresh, will India go? You said India is going to go for a win. You already said that.
Yeah, definitely. And Rahane doesn't physically come across as a very aggressive person, but he's got a tremendous cricketing mind and nothing less than Virat Kohli when it comes to counter-attacking. The change yesterday of sending punt ahead was to give that opportunity or a window of doubt to the Australians that, okay, we would like to go for 400 purely because Gill and Rohit Sharma, the way they started the previous day, the last session, they got 98. We had 4 sessions for 400. So it's simple as 100 per session. And, Pant got more than 100 in the first session yesterday. So Rane is not going to be in a defensive frame of mind. But he will take day by day, and definitely again the toss would play a crucial role, and then how we approach. But we'll go for a win. Definitely, we'll go for a win.
Gurkirat, what would Rahane do? Rather, I know you always want India to bat first, but will we go to make sure that we score 400s with 7 batsmen, or You already mentioned you want 5 bowlers. So what is going to be India's mindset for the last test match?
I think mindset's going to be pretty similar. We just have to hope that we win the toss. And even though India have not won at Gaba, but there have been some very special innings at Gaba. If you talk of 2003, there was Saurav Ganguly's 144. And at that point of time, there were a lot of doubts on him as a test batsman. People were discussing if he could really play pace and everything. And when you score 100 at Gaba, you tell everyone that, yes, you can play pace. In 2014, it was in 2008 we never played at Gaba, but in 2014 Murli Vijay scored a brilliant 144 along with Ajinkya, scoring an 80 odd. I think I genuinely have this feeling that it could be a Rohit Sharma 100 with a good innings from Ajinkya Rahane if we bat first, and that could lay the foundation. I feel if somehow Ashwin and Bumrah are able to come out on the park and we are able to put on a good score, I see India giving Australia a very good fight. Again, I'm not sure if who'll come out on top. But as far as retaining the trophy is concerned, even a draw would do. But like Naresh said, I think they will go for a win, and you know I would just hope that some things fall into place because yesterday we had some of the rub of the green coming our way because the catches were dropped. A few fall shot didn't go to hand. So let's hope. But yeah, I mean, regardless of how the fourth game goes, the Indian team and the fans can be really proud of the effort that has gone into the series. It takes a monumental effort to come back from a 36 all out kind of a performance. And we're talking of how the Australia haven't bowled as much as India, because when they won, there was hardly any second innings because they bowled out India in a session. But when India won in Melbourne, India had bowled 100 overs with one bowler shot. So yes, our bowlers have taken more toll. It was only the last test where Australia bowled more than India, but I still think that this Indian team does have the character and the fight to keep fighting, and to keep giving it back. So I don't expect a meek surrender in any way. I expect a good contest, but I think it's too tight to call. It's just too tight to call who will win and who will not, because India would need Navdeep Saini to sort of come to the occasion. It's the perfect pitch for him. It's the pitch that he will enjoy, his height and his pace. And I have a gut feel that Ajinkya Rahane, having known Shardul Thakur from from close quarters, play for the same Ranji team, I have a feeling India will go with a 4-1 bowling attack, and I expect Ajinkya and Rohit to do really well on this pitch.
Dia, will India go for a win or India will be defensive just to retain the trophy?
Well, if we see, of course, if Virat Kohli would have been there, we have seen his style of captaincy, which is very aggressive, and he is always going to go for win. Draw is never a chance when it comes to him. Now it all depends on the what all circumstances are there in the match, because this time around as well, if we see, we could have easily gone for a win had it not been for Vihari's hamstring problem. Again, it will depend on what match scenario is there at that particular point of time. But I think that that legacy will definitely continue of carrying that aggression and not give up at all and go for the win rather than like to just save the test match. And again, it all depends on the captain, the kind of captaincy that Ajinkya is going to do. And he has been brilliant throughout, and let's just expect that Virat Kohli gets a even more beautiful gift with Team India winning this Border Gavaskar trophy without him being there. It will be a wonderful gift to him. So I can expect that they're not going to go defensive at all. They're going to go all hard on them, and they're going to win. They're going to go for the win for sure.
All right. We've had a wonderful show. Naresh, Amanda, Gurkirat, Dia. We've had 3 fantastic test matches, barring the first one, of course, for India in Adelaide. But we've had wonderful last 2 test matches at least. And the new year has started well. And we hope that India can take the Gaba Fortress, rather bridge the Gaba Fortress, which so far no other team has done it. And we hope this time Ajinkya Rahane's team can do without even Bumrah. I believe, I'm not sure whether he's going to play. And there is talks about even Mayank a bit injured. Let's hope whichever team India puts on the park comes out fighting and gets home the Border Gavaskar trophy, whether it's a draw or a win. Let's hope for the best. And I look forward to chatting with you wonderful guys very soon in 1 week's time and discuss about the post match. Thank you very much.